Hi guys, welcome to another series of the Chef Lifestyle Cooking with My Mom series. On today's episode, we are making one very special garden egg stew. I know you do not want to miss this recipe, so if you're excited, don't forget to subscribe. If you are new here, don't forget to share this video so that anybody who has to see this will see it, and leave a comment if you like this video and you would like to see more. Let's get into it. So we are going to start by listing all the ingredients we are going to need for our garden egg stew. So we are going to need some garden eggs, onions, tomatoes, and then pepper. Then our cooking oil, our wire or any smoked fish of choice, agushie or akatua. You're also going to need some beef. This is completely optional. If you do not need it, you can take it out. Obviously, you need some salt, and then you need some seasoning as well, and then mackerel. It's also optional. If you do not want it, you can take it out. So here I have my chopped tomatoes, and then my onions, and then I also shredded my fish or my smoked fish. The next part is very important. This is where you take away all the skin and the food inside the garden egg stew from the seeds. You're going to be grinding the seeds with the pepper, so make sure that you take away everything. And one important thing, when you are cooking the garden egg stew, do not take away the head or the stalk. I don't know the name, but I would say the stalk. Just wash the garden eggs with the pepper and put everything in the water and then cook it, so that when you are trying to take away the skin, peel the skin, it will be much easier. So we're going to keep the skin and then the seeds together. That is what we're going to be using to grind with the pepper. Then the insides or the main food of the garden eggs is going to go into the stew directly. So this is what you can see my mom doing. She's trying to take away all the food one side and then keep the skin and then the seeds at one side as well. So once you are done removing the seeds and then the skin, you keep that at one side, and then the food at one side, you set that aside. What you are going to do now is we're going to get our pepper ready, and then we're going to use or we are going to add the skin and then the seeds to it and grind it. I do not recommend using a blender because it would become too soft if you use a blender. So what we did, or what we usually do, my mom usually does, is she uses an earthenware bowl or a potoriwa or a sanka, because that would give you the texture that we are looking for. If you use a blender, it's going to be too mushy. I don't know if that's a word. Yes, but then try as much as possible if you have this at home to use this, so that you get that texture we are looking for. So we are going to grind our pepper and then the skin and then the seeds of our garden eggs together thoroughly, but then we don't want it to be too soft. That is why I'm not going to use a blender. So you are going to blend just enough for everything to mix together properly, and they are going to set that aside. So obviously this is a video, so it's a bit slower, but when you are doing it at home, it would be a bit faster. So once this is done, I'm going to set it aside and then prep or get the rest of the ingredients ready, and then you are good to start the stew. I hope you are following along. Either you are taking notes or your ingredients are ready as you watch the video, because trust me, by the end of the video your stew will be tasting so amazing. So to recap everything, here are the things you're going to need once again. So here are the garden egg stew, the skin with the pepper and the seeds that we grinded, and then the food of the garden egg stew. The mackerel we are going to need, as I said, it's optional. I know that not everybody likes mackerel. We also have our cooked beef. Remember, we had beef in the first section when I was showing you the ingredients. We have our cooked beef, our chopped onions and tomatoes. We have our wire or any smoked fish of choice, and then my mom added some tomato paste. We also have our agushie. She added a bit of water and salt to it and then mixed everything together. So let's get into making the stew. So the first thing we are going to do is to add our cooking oil into our pan. If you are going to use palm oil too, you can also use that. You let that sit for a few minutes before we add in the salted fish. Either you can use Kobe or you can use Momone. Even the Momone, any type that you want. We have Opa Momone, we have Adjune Momone, and different ones. We used Adjune Momone for this one, but you can use any one that you like. The next thing we did was to divide the chopped onions into two and then use one part to start it off. So we're adding some onions into the oil, and then the flavor it was giving was so amazing. The next thing we also did is to add the awawaye, or the smoked fish, and then also give that a good stir and allow it to sit for about 5 minutes till it browns a bit. So once you've put in that, as I said, you let it sit for a few minutes till it browns, so that it releases all the flavor that you need in the stew. Then the next thing is that you are going to add in the rest of the onions that we kept aside. So here I'm putting in not everything, but then most of it. For my family, we like crunchy stuff, so most times we leave some of the onion till the end of the stew, then we add it. So when you add the onions, you also add the chopped tomatoes, and then you give everything a good stir and allow it to simmer for a while. So we're going to let that simmer for about 3 to 5 minutes, and I'm going to add in our Agushie or akatua. As I said, it has already been mixed with some water and then salt. So I'm going to just start putting that in, as you can see, slowly, because that's what's going to give us the egg look-alike feel that you want. So slowly, and then when you're mixing it, don't make it too watery. You saw the consistency that my mom put in the stew. It should be something like that. So once we put that in, do not stir right away. Just cover it for like 5 to 10 minutes before you do any form of stirring. And when you're stirring too, don't stir too much, don't stir too fast, because you can see how my mom is stirring it very slowly, so that you don't lose the feel that you want the akatua to give. And then she added a bit of tomato paste. It's very optional. Some people do not add tomato paste to their garden egg stew, and even us, we hardly do that, but here she added just a bit of it to give it more color. So if you want that, you can add it. If you don't want it, you can take it out. Then at this point, she added the mackerel. So as I mentioned, the mackerel is completely optional. For some people, adding the smoked fish is okay for them. If you don't want all that extra shenanigans, you can take it out. But we wanted this to be like loaded garden egg stew, so we added that to it. And my family, we really love mackerel. We use it in almost everything, so if you do not like it, you can take it out. So at this point, you can see how beautiful the stew is already looking. Like, I couldn't wait to devour it. And I'm somebody that I don't even like garden egg stew. I don't like ampesi, so I hardly eat garden egg stew, but it was looking so good. Now you're going to put in our beef. At this point, for ours, we just cooked it, we didn't fry it. But if you also want to fry yours, that's completely okay, but we didn't fry ours. So we're going to add in the cooked beef. It was chopped into smaller pieces so that it's easier to eat when you are eating it with either rice or yam. Then we added in our seasoning and then our salt, and then we stirred everything together for some time. Then the next thing is, now you're ready to put in your garden eggs that we have prepared. So we're going to start with the grinded one, the back of the garden egg stew, or the skin, and then the seeds with the pepper. I'm going to add that first before we add in the skin of the garden egg stew. So you add that and you give it a good mix to make sure that everything is well incorporated. You've seen how my mom is stirring the stew. Do not over stir it, not stir it too much, just a bit to make sure everything is properly incorporated in the stew. Then I'm going to add in our the rest of the garden eggs, and then also give it a good stir. So you can see the stew is looking so good at this point. There are so many ingredients in the stew. This is loaded garden egg stew, and I know that you're already salivating and are going to try this recipe. I know it. So at this point, all you have to do is just keep stirring it, or leave it on fire for a couple more minutes, because everything in the stew is already cooked, so you don't have to keep it on fire for too long. You don't have to also let the fire be too high, otherwise it's going to burn. So on low heat, you just stir everything for a few minutes, leave it to set on fire for like 5 minutes, and then the stew is ready. So you can serve this with yam, you can serve it with rice, you can, anything you want to eat it. You can even eat it with banku if you want, because the stew was so delicious. I've never eaten garden egg stew with rice in my life because I don't like garden egg stew, but I was able to eat this with rice and I went for more. So you can imagine how delicious it is. So I hope you'll be trying it. If you love this recipe, give us a thumbs up, give us a follow, or leave a comment and subscribe, because I'm going to bring you so many more recipes like this. So till another video, see you, it's bye.